Hello everyone, Maurice saying welcome to Takes Invest, where we can talk about investing, finance, and professional development. For today's video, it's for entertainment purposes only. The stock that we're going to talk about today would be Tesla, TSLA. So happy Monday, everybody. Hope you guys all had a great weekend. With respect to Tesla today and across all just the macro EV sector, we've been seeing a lot of greens today. So congratulations everybody that bought on the dip on Friday. And with respect to Tesla's currently is up about 3% as I'm speaking right now, around 1 p.m. on the East Coast right now. And with respect to NIO's, currently up about 5% right now. So there's a lot of greens across the board right now. But is this really more of a reversal that's going on right now? Are we completely oversold that we're up for a rebound soon? Or is this more of a sell-off that we should be that we should be foreshadowing coming up? So I'm going to go through a technical analysis to see what are the resistance levels should be looking out for and how are people thinking about this, technically and also psychologically on the charts. I'm also going to give you guys the resistance level to look out for in case you want to buy in for the first time or for the dark horse average in case you are building your position. Also, I'm going to give you guys my price target for the year in 2020 as well. So stay tuned, stick around, let's make some money. Alright, so moving on to the technical analysis for Tesla TSLA, you can see that ever since this morning, we start at the top of the $580 level, and subsequent to that, in just the span of 4 minutes, we sold off all the way down to the $573.65 level at the lowest, and this was mainly driven by a computer trade. Not sure what happened. I think one of the hedge fund accidentally executed a sell signal, and this happens sometimes. It could be an accidental sell order, or it could be because of some sort of like liquidation events that occur in a hedge fund that they decide to reallocate or repurpose some of the dollars for something else. But this, especially on a Monday, I would say the likelihood of just shifting dollars away or an accidental sell, I think the likelihood of more of an accidental sell order was more likely, which drove the sell off all the way to this like 573. Then ever since then, you see the major volume comes in, right? You could see that starting from the set 573 at the bottom at 935, public investors and corporations immediately bought it. You could see that in the beginning we had this like one green candle. This was basically a sell and a buy order immediately to correct the error it made, and subsequent to that, a lot of public investors bought in, and then more corporations bought in, and subsequent to that, we've been just how kind of up and away ever since, right? We hit all the way to about like the 10 o'clock 10:42 level, about like the $600 level, and then we just kind of consolidated from there. And you could see that ever since we hit the 600, we kind of flow back down because the $600 mark is the resistance level that we've seen historically. And currently we're just kind of floating above this line right now, above the 598, basically struggling to get above 600 or try at least not go anywhere below the 600 any further anymore. So going to take a look at the daily chart right now, we could see this more clearly. And apologies if I drew too many charts here. I'm just trying to be as precise and as technical as possible. And you could see that, just look at the historically speaking, you could see that ever since last year November, we rolled all the way, from the bottom at the $400 level to the $900 level because of the couple of factors, right? S&P 500 inclusions, stock split, also with respect to the Biden administrative plan, for the green evolutions, and also with respect to the Chinese movement as well, right? For their proposal for 2030 to basically convert and transform all their vehicles into e-vehicles going forward. So by that time, gas and all the petrochemical type of vehicles are going to be obsolete, right? So all of those positive media affectation on top of the Wall Street consensus and acceptance for Tesla to be S&P 500 included company gave a lot of investors confidence, which subsequently pumped this up all the way to 900, right? But you could see that the outlier was pretty drastic if you look at the chart, right? This was basically a huge candlestick that pumped up enormously, and the outlier was pretty substantial, right? So right now what we're doing, we are basically correcting back down to form more of a logical momentum going forward, and that's exactly what happened in Q1 and Q2 so far, right? We sold down all the way because of tax season, because of just chip shortage, because of the monetary policy scares that we've been getting, and also with respect to the tax adjustment that Biden's proposing, and also on top of that, a lot of exogenous macro negative factors, right, with respect to, Q1 and, typically a down quarter for a lot of automakers, and that's exactly why it's also pushing Tesla stock down as well. So a lot of combinations of a negative media affectation. Also, on top of that, just on a technical perspective, we pumped up so much already that it was just about time, for the balloon to pop. It can only be inflated so much, right? It can only be hyped so much, right? And whatever goes up really fast comes down really fast, and that's exactly what happened. And ever since then, we've just been kind of consolidating, floating up and down, up and down, up and down, right? Really like being deterred by monthly reports that we get, with respect to the CPI report, and also the Federal Reserve speech that we get from Jerome Powell, giving people more of like a psychological trip, right? Kind of like in a bipolar perspective, right? Sometimes people perceive is like is going to be a positive CPI report, and then they sell the news. Sometimes it's like a really positive speech that Biden provides for us with respect to the outlook for the economy, then it pushed the stock up, but then people subsequently sell the news. So it's kind of like a very, bipolar type of trading momentum at the moment. People are still trying to figure out like, what's going on going forward, right? We're still pending on the chip shortage news. We're still pending on the supply and demand news. Obviously, we're still depending on the when are we gonna be recovering from the whole COVID situation, right? So there's a lot of pending pieces right now, and also on top of that, with respect to inflation scares that we've been getting recently, and also with respect to the tax adjustments on the corporate level, and just the Chinese tension that we've also been getting so far. A lot of these, macroeconomical negative exogenous factors are basically, pushing the stock down. And right now we're basically consolidating, around these levels here. And as of today, we see that we're up by 3%. And we're basically bouncing off of this level right here at the 539 ever since that we happened last Wednesday, and today is on the 24th. So we were selling all the way down to here, basically post the CPI report that we got, and some of the negative news that we got as well with respect to a crash that occurred related to a Tesla auto driving vehicle incident, which subsequently created another fatality. That subsequently drove the stock down even further. But ever since then, we're reversing back upward right now, right? We were bouncing up from the 541 all the way currently today at the $600 mark, which is what we're seeing right now as of 1 p.m. on Monday today. And the reason we're bouncing down from this level is because we tested this level basically 4 times so far. We tested this once, twice, 3 times, 4 times. So, and this is a pretty strong resistance level that we've formed right now. And right now we're reversing back upward, testing this line again at the $600 mark, which is a psychological resistance level, knowing the fact this is a flat number. And also on top of that, we tested this number several times in the past, right? We could see that we're testing this right now once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. So this is a really tough wall for us to crack, right? But if we break above the $600, which I think is very likely because of if you look at the MACD right now, you can see that the line is basically forming together to like forming like a fishtail kind of way. And you could see that with respect to the separation of the two lines is getting more and more fused together. And also on top of that, the RSI supports the reversal. You can see that we're highly oversold, we're highly submerged right now. That is bound to be has a propensity to go upward from here. So it's gonna fuse upwards and it's gonna cross the line, and subsequently it's gonna go up from here. So the likelihood of us breaking the $600 is very likely based on what I see so far. Just on the technical perspective, but also on how the chart is set up right now. And take a look at it closely. You could see that the next resistance level that we're going to be going up to if we break the 600, which I think we're still struggling, would be the $624-$25 level, which you could see that we formed the foundations once with this consolidation once. We could see that we had this secondary like minimal candle twice, 3 times, 4 times, which had this like one sharp dip once, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times. So this is another strong resistance level that we have formed historically. So I think the next level that we're gonna reach is gonna be somewhere around like the 625, and then we're gonna kind of hover from there and see how it goes, right? And I think by that time we'll have more confirmation around like the economical outlook with respect to, I think by then we should be hitting somewhere around like the 614, the 615 time mark, which is like the CPI report. And I perceive the CPI report's gonna, have some anticipation of momentum effects to the stock price. So I believe that people are gonna perceive this as like a more of a positive report that's gonna come out. And with that anticipation, it's going to propel the stock upward, and it's going to test the 625. And then I think we're going to consolidate. And then by then, it's going to be somewhere around like the July time period. And I think we're going to still kind of hover from there, and contingent on more positive news with respect to the economy coming back up, contingent on the recovery of the supply chains with respect to chip shortage, and also just like with respect to just with respect to the the trade tension that we have between China and the U.S. Also on top of some of the administrative, Joe Biden's proposal with respect to the tax adjustments, um, contingent all of those factors, and Tesla being able to solidify the earnings call going forward, we should be going back up, like pretty much up and away from here. And I think the next level after the 624 would be the 660, which is the next level here, which we've had formed historically, right? And I think by then that's going to be somewhere around like the August time period. We should be around like the 660, 650, $665 level. We tested the resistance level here once, twice, basically a bunch of times here. We're basically kind of going sideways from here. Bunch of times. So we have tested like multiple times, and that's a really strong resistance level, right? And whatever resistance level goes up, you will have more supporting factors below, because these are all respective resistance level as well, right? So multiple resistance levels at the bottom, and as you get upper and stronger, obviously as the stock price goes up, the risk actually increases. However, because of the fact that we've consolidated so much historically with these multiple resistance levels, and these resistance levels all have sub resistance levels, each of them, that is gonna form a pretty strong base going forward. And you can see that base is pretty consolidated across around these regions here. So you could ask me a question like, oh, are we gonna see like are we gonna see more sell off and then bounce back up, or are we gonna see more of a a pump up and then a more of a consolidation? I think it's gonna be the second. I think we're gonna see more of a upward pump from here and then kind of consolidate. So we're gonna form a secondary plate, and then consolidate from there. I don't foresee us to be going back down anymore. I think the resistance level at the bottom is pretty much formed. I think the bottom was really at the 540 or like the $535 level. I don't think we're gonna go below 500, to be honest with you, because like for us to do that, that will take a lot of irrationality, and I think that would just not be logical in terms of like how we're moving accordingly to the trends. So I think the near term future we should be seeing a reversal, and then testing again, right, the 620, and then consolidate, and then slowly go back up to the 660. And by then we should have like earnings call, and then like more positive news about the whole outlook of the economy. And eventually we should have more like upward consolidate, and then eventually go back up to the all-time high. So overall, on the macro perspective, I think we are basically trending according to plan. I think we are reversing, and I think right now, I think that if we were to dollar cost average, it wouldn't be terrible at the $600 level. I think obviously if you have gotten it right below like the 560 or the 530, that'll be awesome. But like you can never really time the market, right? But you can further dollar cost average to maintain your risk profile and your risk appetite. And $600 level is early sign of the reversal before the big leap up to the 620. So if you're a day trader, that's a pretty good move for you to make. But we still need to like further like verify and have more of a notification from the officials on the recovery of the economy and the chip shortage going forward. But long term wise, this stock is going to be $1 trillion market cap, and you could probably laugh at these numbers like a couple years down the road. So definitely good long term investments around these price levels. All right, so just to go through the numbers one more time, just to recap everything that I talked about from the chart to more of a simplistic perspective. I think Tesla around like the 595, like the $600 level, that's a fair number to buy into, and I've been saying this multiple times now. This is not a bad price to get into. Obviously, if you have gotten it like around like the 560, again like the 530, 545, that would be amazing. But you can never really time the market accordingly, right? But you can obviously dollar cost average to minimize your risk profile and your risk appetite, right? So right now I think it's a fair price to get in, but I would not like load all your money into it. But just know that I do believe that we are on the verge of a reversal. And the next level that we're going to test will be the 620 something. So that's an upward of like about $20 of an upswing from here, right? So if you buy now, and you want to wait out for maybe a couple weeks, not a bad gains from here. It's a small day trade type of move. And if we are unable to sustain the $600 level again, right? 560 would be the next resistance level that we'll be getting to. And if we break the 560 because of a black swan event, maybe it's a bad press around Tesla as a company as a whole. Maybe we hear more fatality or casualty with respect to a car crash, or maybe something really exogenous negative about like the chip shortage that subsequently maybe postpone the supply and demand for the delivery going forward. That could subsequently hinder the top line, obviously subsequent to the margin, and obviously the whole thing with respect to the earnings call. 545 would be possible, and just to remind you that we tested that area 4 times now. For us to break through that walls on top of all the walls that we've had on top of the bottom wall, would be pretty significant of a sell off for us to get there, and it will require a multiple corporations to sell off. And just so you know, right, by around the S&P 500 inclusion time period, a lot of corporations actually bought around like these areas, right? Like the 595, like the 395, like the 420, $430 level. So I don't foresee them to be selling more, because a lot of corporations are already holding around those levels, around like 450, 350, $500 level. So for them to sell at those levels to drive another sell off all the way to get it back down to 400, that would just not be logical, because like corporations don't want to hold the bags, right? That's not something they do, right? They're logical. They think in a more of a long term perspective. So I think 545 is truly the bottom that we've tested many times. Reversal is coming. And if you buy now the $600 level, the 595, 950 in a 12 months target, or by year end 2021, is a very logical thing based on how we're trending so far, knowing the fact that we tested 900 already before, that this will subsequently give you a 60% upside, 1.6 times your money. But that's still me being conservative as an investor. I totally see, Tesla being like a couple $1 trillion company going forward. Remember, Tesla is not just a car company. It is an energy transfer company. They deal with like solar energy. They deal with, obviously electric vehicle energy. They deal with a lot of different energies, of transfer, and green energy is where we're going in the future. And Tesla is the company that encapsulates all of that, and is able to disseminate all of that throughout our ecosystem and our livelihood. So Tesla is going to be one of the biggest industry titan going forward in this space. So buying it now, holding it for a long term, you will thank yourself later in the future. Alright, so that's it for today with respect to my technical analysis on Tesla TSLA. Really hope that you guys enjoy my insights and the research and the video so far. Really love the engagements and the questions I've been getting so far as well. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button, also that bell notification to watch up for the next video. Really appreciate it.